Hi, this is Postman again, and this is yet another track walkthrough. This time we're going through the last track of my Kovacs EP. This track is called Takeshi Struggle. Like you all probably know by now, the whole EP was inspired by the personage of Takeshi Kovacs from the Altered Carbon series, and this track is kinda about him. I don't have much more to say about it, so let's get right on with the track. So like always, different buses, sidechain, drums, tonal, and effects. The tracks is kind of trying to embrace the 80s cyberpunk vibes, but implying them or modifying them in a modern way. There's also a cool key change in the middle of the track. So the main parts at the beginning and the later half of the tracks are in E major. Then in the middle, the key shifts to C sharp minor, and also there is a key signature change. Or time signature change. I'll talk about that later. About that key change, so it's not a really drastic key change because E major and C sharp minor actually contain the same notes. There are relative keys to each other, so one is major, one is minor. The difference though is that some of their notes have different tonal emphasis. For example, D sharp, which is accentuated a lot in this section, is the leading tone in E major, so it brings out a lot of tension. It's only the supertonic in C sharp minor, which cause, if you believe music theory, it's also associated with just leaping to another tone. And I think emphasizing that note in the section helps it makes a really abrupt change. It really is clear that something is going up. Okay, let's take a look at the drums. To be totally honest, the main loop idea is again from a loop from one of Source sample packs. It's this one. So really has that kind of marching band feel to it. I processed it somewhat, so it's a bit more muddier. It's down pitched. There's some reverb on it from Valhalla Vintage reverb, which kind of okay. It's in a modern setting, so it shouldn't really color it that much. But the overall sound is definitely colored. That's a trick I often use. I have like that basic idea part, which I kind of subdue, and I add on other elements that take that main idea in a similar but yet different way. So also in the here's with the key change, there's also a time signature change, so the rhythm gets changed from 4/4 to 3/4. So 3/4 is often associated with a waltz rhythm, but here it's definitely not that. What I actually done is just cut off the last bar of the main loop idea and kept the rest. So you definitely recognize the rhythm of the previous section, but there's something missing, there's something off. and I think it creates the illusion of rushing. You as of as like the music can't keep up with the narration of the track. Let's take a look at the kicks. So the kick group is quite large. It's just a bunch of minimal, maybe even minimal ish kicks, all bussed in the same group and all going through the Brainworks subsynth plugin. It's a bit like the R bass from Waves. It just adds sub harmonics and gives them more boom. You can kind of tune it, and I probably tuned it to the key of A major, probably with help of a spectrometer like a span from a Voxengo. Okay. For the snares, kind of the same deal. So all different kind of snares grouped together. In the key change section, they are being processed by an emulation of a module called mfold, which is kind of a wave folder. Actually sounds like some kind of bit crushing going on, and it's harshening the sound, which intensifies the feel of the track at that moment, I guess. Then the loops, yeah, like I told you before, this main loop going on from XOR, setting the backgrounds or the rhythmic foundation of the track. But in the middle section, that kind of falls away. There's this background hustle loop going on. Yeah, it's being reverbed, going through reverb, but also kind of being acute, even quite severely at the later end of the key change section, just to tame it all a bit, because like you can hear, there are a lot of unruly highs going on there. Top's a bit of the same. They're adding rhythmic variation to the key change section, and here in the last part of the track, loops are getting laid on each other, just to helping with amplifying the crescendo feel going on at the end of the track. Okay, important to mention, so in the 3/4 section also the loops are chopped off, so I think I probably just chopped off the last quarter of the loop and looped that. Same with the main loop. I did here, I added just as a top layer and EQ'd it accordingly. Okay, now for the tonal stuff in the track. So like I said, track definitely has a nod to 80s cyberpunk aesthetic, or actually I think the music you got cyberpunk is quite modern, but definitely has a lot of 80s influence. And here's what's going on. Here is a kind of mix between more modern digital sounding synths and leads, but also some analog emulations. I think two great plugins or devices for that is the analog device from which comes standard with Live. It's developed or co-developed by AAS. It's a really simple plugin. There's not much to it, but it definitely kind of gets that analog character really well. It's not overly analog sounding, but definitely has that cool timbre to it. I think especially the soul waveforms. But in my opinion, one of the best analog emulation plugins is definitely Yuhei, or I don't know how you really pronounce that, is the Diva plugin here in the bass section. I didn't use it that much, but it's definitely great if you want to deal with analog emulations. Really has that Moog sounding filter. It's really cool. I really like to use it. Okay, so what's going on here? So in the intro, and also a bit here in the kind of section that's leaping toward the key change, I'm actually detuning the synths up and down just to create that drifty kind of feel you often hear with analog gear. Then this main chord progression and the intro section is a wavetable, so Ableton Live's wavetable synth going through a vocoder. Vocoder is not for usual vocoder shenanigans, but more to act as a kind of timbral subduer. That's kind of a difficult word. What it's actually doing is stemming some frequencies and taming out the sounds and kind of making it more hollow, and I like what it does. So the sound without it is a bit more full on. With it helps to mix it a bit more into the track, I guess. Okay. Then there's this serum ARP going on here, both in the major sections. Here it's synced to the tempo, going real fast. Yeah, and here is actually free running, and I'm modulating the rates. Yeah, the track is really quite rigid on the grid, and having an element that's really loose on it really helps it pop out anyway. Yeah, so the ARP is modulating some parameters, which is further accentuating it. Yeah, I think that's yeah. There's this alarm sounding lead introducing the keychain section, adding some drama. Basic theorem patch with basic kind of basic shapes, like you can see. I'm modulating some parameters. It's also going through multipass from kilohertz, and I'm actually adding effects after the bass sounds, resonator and comb filter and saturator, just to help modify the timbral qualities of it. And then when the track, a bit before, so after a while in the keychain sections, you can hear those guitar-ish plugs. Yeah, they're done in Serum. Serum is kind of acting as a sampler here and adding extra timbral information with its oscillators. I think it helps giving the track more drama, accentuating the rhythm in another way. These plugs also reoccur in the section after that, and even one goes through a resonator, and the notes of the resonators are modulated by this Max for Live device, which takes MIDI in and converts that into note information for the resonators. Yeah, I think I'm there. Yeah. And then as last but not least, there's this ARP section in the last section, done in Serum. It's kind of just acid lead, nothing really that unusual, I guess. Yeah, okay. Then the bass section. So the main bass stab is like that typical Moog sound, I guess. It's done in Zebra, Zebra 2. But basically you could do it with every plugin. It's just a fat saw wave or saw wave oscillator stacked on each other, going through low pass, and low pass has an envelope to it, so it's closing really fast or maybe more slow, and it gives that instantly 80-ish sci-fi feel. Yeah, it's layered by a kind of impact-ish sample, which I'm also low passing and basically reverbing it with a biome via unfiltered audio. Yeah, filter is slowly opening up and then closing back and opening up. I think it's not super obvious, but it helps giving it more variation. Yeah. Then there's only one instance of Diva active here, and it kind of yeah, gives us. I'm really playing with the filter here and kind of giving it that cool nasty acid sound to it. Then in the key change sections, the more traditional analog sounding basses are complemented by more digital sounds, like this one here. Yeah, like kind of noisy Euro-Rees, and here those bass snippets are being processed by what I call a delay splitter. So it's splitting the different frequencies and processing them with different very short delays on it, so like below 20 milliseconds, I guess. Yeah. And it's forcefully phasing out some frequencies, making the sound more hollow, and I think giving a cool kind of texture or sound to it. Yeah, without it, it sounds way clearer. Like, I think because it's hollowed out, it helps fit somewhat more in the mix without being too abrasive. And in the last section we have again yet another neuro-like bass. Yeah, but it's more tame. It's less noisy, more reverberated. And then I got those tipper plugs, tipper-like basses that I found in a Mr. Bill sample pack. I guess it was let's look it up. Yeah, the thing, that experimental bass. Plugger, yeah, this one, the experimental basses sample pack. I think they're probably made in how's it called, Razor. So Native Instruments Razor plugin for Reactor, and I'm further accentuating the acidy psy transy sound to it of it by putting it through an OTT and then through a parallel filter, so half of it is not affected and in the other half portion of the track is going through a resonant low pass filter, and I guess that's further accentuating that resonant sound to it. Again, there's no real sub layer because I guess the kicks and that Moog-like bass already have enough boom to it to cement the track in the sub frequencies. And then there's this effects group, and here I didn't add a lot of texture. It's more like helping with clearing out transition and with risers and crashes and so on. What's going on here? Oh yeah, okay. It's like an auto plant chop thing. Adding this one is actually adding textures to it. Okay, I guess that's it for that. Hope you liked it. If you like it, leave a like. If you want to subscribe, please do so. And I hope to see you next time.